3.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Uanu home. I'm Jerry Delgado Uanu, and I'm with my husband Alex, who is my cameraman today. And we are going to be showing you a little bit about bobs. I chose to cut a bob today with my scissors, and I felt that there's been, the bob started in the 1920s, maybe even way before then with Cleopatra. And I wanted to, though, modernize it. There are a lot of different types of bobs these days, and that's why I felt that this was a good one to try to give you like some interior square layering, some panel cutting, and I wanted to show you some of my images that I picked. So what I did was, I just looked on the runway right now with what's going on for spring, summer. And so you've got these really adorable bob that's textured with a fringe. You've got, that's by the designer Jenny, by Armani Privé. You have this really flippy kind of 60s modern bob with a fringe, but it still has that little bit of unique choppiness to it, so it's not very geometric. And then the third one is by a designer called Helisi, and I love this because I just love everything about it. I love all of these, but she's got like a really solid low fringe in her eyes. She's got like a disconnected couple of pieces that really surround her cheekbones and open up her temple area just a little bit, but she's very covered up. And the great thing is, though, she's got a nice light bob line at the bottom, which still gives it the strength and the softness at the same time. And then the last one is an Arrojo image that I just love. And if anybody knows who actually cut this, let us know, because I love it. I think it just says everything about a modern, graduated, disconnected bob. And so what I'm going to do before I get started, I'm just going to walk you over to a couple books that I'm using as a inspiration. So because it's the pandemic, I thought I would look inside of our house for some inspiration, so I opened up a couple of our own art books. And so the first one, this is from 1929, and the first one is Louise Brooks. Now Louise Brooks was actually one of the first Hollywood celebrities to sport a bob, and look at how beautiful she looks. It's very geometric. Everything, the blunt line is definitely like where you start, where you finish, it's all one line. And then the next one is by this fashion photography called Appearances. This is by Helmut Newton. And Helmut Newton is a German designer. He's a photographer, and I love it because he is enamored with the female nudity, and he was in French Vogue a lot with his photography work. He did a lot of erotic images with that sly sense of humor, and I love how her back is opened up. It's beautiful. And then, so a bob is very alluring. And then another one is from this Dolce & Gabbana book from the 80s and 90s. This is a picture of Linda Evangelista, which was one of the supermodels back in the 80s and 90s, and Paolo Roversi was the Italian designer that shot her. And look at her bob. It does resemble the Dolce & Gabbana look in general with the clothes, no matter what.
Jen, can you pull the book in a little bit?
Right, like here, can you see?
Yeah, a little bit more. There you go, perfect.
It really does, and you can really tell that these, whether you're hair designing or clothes designing or photo designing, each look supports each other and builds a bigger picture of the look. It puts everything into context. And then here is Linda Evangelista again, and she has that look from Stephen Moiselle was the photographer. I think it was in the 1995 maybe. And it resembles that masculine, feminine look with their hair being really like pasted down and head hugging.
And it's almost like that Louise Brooks one, the first one.
It is, it's almost like the Louise Brooks one. It's very similar. So you can see it's very strong eyebrows. Okay, so let's get back and we'll get started with our haircut. So,
Just quickly, Michelle
Yeah.
from San Francisco says hello.
hi, Michelle.
Kelly Stobart is watching, and she says looks great.
Thank you.
And your biggest fan, Sanjoy, is watching.
Thank you, Sanjay. So, what I'm doing today is I made a head sheet. I'm working on a variation of a bob, but I wanted to put a little bit of graduation in it. I wanted to put a little bit of square layering inside and some disconnection. So as you can see, in the interest of time, actually cut a mannequin last night, so you could see the actual look. So here is my bob line's very strong, and then my square graduation is coming straight out, and then but I leave just enough length to let it go right over the bob line. Now this was already pre-cut by Alex last week, so this length I really wanted her to be right at the bottom, but I still think it looks really cool though, doesn't it? And then the same thing with the sides. I wanted a leaner silhouette, so the sides are layered in, and you can see from here, I elevated the sides up and around so I could really get some higher layering through the temple area. And then I wanted to make it just, another variation, so I decided to have a little bit of a bi-level feel and add a stronger, wider fringe. So I did more of a double fringe where I cut the underneath and then let the next layer lay on top. And you can see by the temple area, I cut a nice C shape around the cheekbones. And the same on this side, but this side was just a little different because I wanted the fringe to come a little bit, so I stayed a little lower because I wanted the fringe to come right almost at the base of her nose. And then I started lifting up a bit more in the center so she could see. All right.
Yeah, the nice thing here is that you've almost got like two haircuts in one. You've got this nice short undercut bob, and then you've got this longer, choppier bob on top. So, the juxtaposition of the two haircuts coming together kind of takes away from that, A to B to C, and the technique starts getting blended in with the visual, which I think looks really, really nice and very modern and fun.
Thank you, Alice. It's nice because if you for dressing purposes, if you're styling it, you can style it. It doesn't have to look like a bob. For instance, if you style it, it can be, just looks like a layered look. Again, I love this Arojo image.
Brian Waldron says, hi everyone. And Sanjoy says, Jerry, it's great to see you show us your mastery.
Aww.
And Stephen Adams is watching.
Hi, Stephen. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to cut just a solid line, a solid blunt line. I'm going to go up a couple sections, just blunt along the hairline, square, because I wanted to go around the head and not be so A-line. I wanted to go around the head more of a horizontal bob. So in saying that, when I did the other side, when I got to 1, 2, probably like 3 sections, and combed it all the way down to my blunt line, I started the last section, I graduated. Just enough for it to naturally just turn under. So I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna keep the hair pretty damp along the way because my model, Diane, she's got a little wave in her hair. It's a little, you can see, it's a little bouncy at the hairline. So I'm gonna keep loose tension. I'm using the large end of my comb.
And if you guys have noticed, Jerry is a lefty.
I am a lefty.
There's always one in the crowd.
Yes.
And Helen Fornes says, good morning from Arojo Cosmetology School. Thank you for joining us, Helen.
Thank you, Helen. Yes. It's funny because I had all my teachers along the way were right-handed. And so I felt like I had to work twice as hard to figure out how to cut. I used the mirror a lot when they were teaching me. I would look in the mirror a lot so I could see the reverse side of it.
Hey, just before Jerry continues, I just want to do a sound check. Can everyone hear her okay? And the sound is good? Someone send me a heart or a thumbs up.
I like this type of technique because it's very salon friendly. And
thank you, Stacia. Thank you, Patrick, is watching.
It's very salon friendly. You know, if I'm doing something like this where I have internal layering, it's planned out. In a salon atmosphere, which I'm in mostly, I can't just come up with a plan and be as spontaneous. So I use all my classic techniques and I just blend them together for a specific look, and I plan it out ahead of time. So this particular technique is really great if it's thick hair, because you can take away a lot of the thickness in the occipital bone area, but it's also good for thin hair too, because I'm gonna have a strong line at the edge, so it'll still have the strength for an overall layered shape.
And talking about strong, look at those arms. She's gonna kick my ass, I tell you, if I mess around. Kenny Burke is watching.
Hi,
from
Kenny.
San Francisco. Hello, how are you, my friend?
Alex and Nick are really good friends, so I got to know Nick along the way through our Sassoon days, because I worked for Vidal Sassoon for about 12 years, and I remember when I was a newbie on the floor, Nick came in and was just a guest stylist.
Are you saying that Nick is really old?
How old is he now?
Kenny Burke says those arms though.
So this section, I am just putting a little low graduation, and I'm using some tension. You know, because her hair is wavy, I'm gonna go with it. You know, it's the kind of hair though that I can easily blow dry smooth if I wanted to, but it could be really cool, like these type of textures, to actually have a little wave come out with it. So typically when I cut a bob line, you know, because Diana is a mannequin and not a real person, it's always a little challenging to cut a bob line because they don't move their head around. I have a tendency of moving clients' heads more than I realize now that I'm cutting a mannequin. And well, I can't, so I'm cutting through the comb. I could cut on the skin, but if they have a little bit of a jumpy hairline or wavy hairline, I think this is a great way to go.
Yeah. It's tough too with a mannequin because there's no give on the skin. It's just like cutting a block, you know. So you're cutting in the comb, Jerry. Is there a reason? I mean, how are you angling your comb so that you know the line that you're cutting is good?
Okay, well so when I first started cutting, in my outline, it's almost like, let me just get this hair out of the way.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, just want to keep her organized. So when I first start cutting, I just wanted a blunt line. So I'm left-handed, so I'm actually starting on the left side, cutting in, but which a right-hander would do the same, at the opposite. And then the other side, I would either come in the same, or I would follow through from the center out. And I find that, you know, it depends how much experience you have with hair and with these type of shapes to know how it's going to react. So the most important thing is that there's no tension. Cutting it through the comb is a way that if there is a colic I'll cut with the colic instead of against the colic. I think that's where a lot of people have problems because they really use a lot of a strong tension on the skin, and then next thing you know, it bounces, and then it's really hard to control.
Gotcha. So essentially, the comb will allow you to hold the hair, but in a softer, more looser way, so you won't experience too much tension. Quick question for Xavier, a Rojo student, wondering, do you like working with a razor for a haircut like this?
Hi, Xavier. That was an excellent question. I came from a world where we didn't use razors, so I've learned along the way to use only my scissors and to texturize and to point cut with my scissors. I love razor cutting, and it's never too late to learn because I've been watching a lot of the stylists use the razor this past couple weeks, and it's been so fun. I just want to do it.
I think it's super nice, especially these days, to be well versed in as many techniques as you can. Master one, but understand the rest. Kenny loves to watch lefties.
Really? Is Kenny lefty?
I don't know. It sounds a little bit like a pervert right now. But his thoughts are, what are your thoughts of cutting from the center out on both sides?
Sure.
Sure is the answer. I
think you can. Again, it goes back to, if you're in beauty school and you're learning this for the first time, the most important thing is that you follow what your teacher's telling you, because they have a specific curriculum, how they want to take you from this to this to this to this. So if the teacher wants you to cut one whole side and then cut the other, then you do it, like what I did when I was young, when I was going through the training. And if the teacher wants you to go back and forth, then you do it. And the more you practice these techniques, it's like anything, we're artists, and the more we practice our art, then we understand how it responds, and then we start approaching it differently, and then we know if we approach it from the behind the ear forward or from forward to behind the ear, that it could be a little different in certain ways, but we know it already. So
yeah,
it could, and to answer your question, I hope I did, but you can.
I think ultimately it's about what feels comfortable, right? And whether it's from center out or overhand as opposed to palm, it's really what's about comfortable. The key thing is, and I always stress this, is you have to master your classic techniques. Once you master those classic techniques, then you can start, messing around or changing things up. You have to understand the tension, the over direction, the effects of pulling hair from one side to the other. Once you get that, then the rest becomes easy.
I find with this section, Alex, that I am over my fingers, because when I cut in my fingers, I have a tendency of cutting more like where I want to hug the neckline, and with this, I don't. I want to leave weight on the outline, especially if it's finer hair. So I want to leave that weight. And when I cut in my palms a lot, I'm following the shape of the head. So because I'm doing square layering, and as I move with my vertical sections forward, and as the head rounds, the over direction starts, and then I create that nice thickness and weight behind the ear. Especially on Diane's, because she doesn't have a lot of thickness behind the ear, so we really need to fill that in. We can always take it away later, right?
I also think that for the sake of the camera, underhanded, overhanded will change just so that we can get a better view. Try to focus on where the hair is coming from and where it's being pulled to. That's what's going to give you the shape, not so much what happens on the other end. Quick question, are you using left-handed shears?
Okay, this is a funny story, you guys. Because of the pandemic, my left-handed shears are still in the salon. So yesterday, I went to the salon, and we work at George Charles Salon in Chicago on Oak Street. And George let me come in. I ended up getting myself and Alex's equipment, but I forgot my left-handed scissors. So
Great.
I am ambidextrous. So I am using right-handed scissors today.
There you go.
Remember when I first started hairdressing, there really weren't any left-handed scissors. So I actually used right-handed scissors for years.
Got it. So we got a couple of questions here. I'll go to Xavier. What kind of scissors are you using? Do you know the brand?
BMAX.
They're BMAC. And a good pair of shears, I think if you are an Orojo student, you are already tied into BMAC shears. We love BMAC. They stay nice and sharp, you know. As with most tools that you use your hands to work with, there's never one answer. You have to feel the shears in your hand, and they have to feel comfortable. They have to feel right in your hand. So my shears might not feel comfortable in Jerry's hand because we have different size hands. We also have different types of grips. So I like to chop, where Jerry tends to be a little bit softer with her scissor movement. So I hope that answers the question. The other thing too is what feels comfortable to create a harmonious balance and your body position when cutting.
Say that can you tell me that one again?
You know, what feels comfortable for you to create a harmonious balance, like you know, your body position. You know.
You know, you gotta. I find that if it feels right when I'm doing it, then it's good. For instance, when I'm doing this particular technique, I'm not moving around. I'm bringing the hair to me. So here's the square of the head, and every section I'm bringing it to me. Where if I were doing, so I know that feels good, and I know that I'm getting what I need as far as my shape goes, and you know, the most important thing is that I use my legs a lot. So when I'm going, when I'm bending down, I use my legs so I don't have any strange back issues or shoulder issues.
You know, what's interesting, you guys, is that once you speak or see a seasoned stylist, you'll find that they do less and less of the gymnastics, if you like. You know, we try, you know, you have to look after your body and you have to look after your joints.
We'll get that afterwards.
So you need to keep it, you know, easy and simple and find what's comfortable for you. Quick question regarding the shears. Did you turn the right-handed shears around to cut? No,
I didn't. You know, again, it goes back to I was a lefty in a right-handed world, and I can use right-handed shears, and I can play baseball with the bat on the right side, right-handed.
There you go. Did you see those arms, Donna? I mean, really. Yeah. She could use a wood axe and cut that hair. It'll be totally fine.
So in the 1980s, in 88, I taught aerobics in Paris. And I took a sabbatical and I moved to Paris because I just wanted to understand fashion and I wanted to learn a language. And I didn't have working papers, so I decided, you know, America brought a lot of fitness to Europe at that time, so I did. And then I was learning French, and I was cutting women's hair who were living there with their American families through the American church in Paris. So I built up a clientele, and then after that I went to London, and I was working for Vidal Sassoon at the time. So then when I went to London and I was working in the school, and guess what I did? I got an aerobics job teaching at Covent Gardens. and the funny thing is everybody was going to the pubs after work, and I was going to the gym. So, but
there you go, everyone.
Who knew later in life it's going to help me out? I think because, you know, knock on wood, knock on Diane.
It doesn't come easy.
Yeah, it's so true. You got to really work it. You just got to stay consistent, like anything. That's really the lesson is to stay as consistent as possible with everything, you know? And if I feel like I'm losing my focus, I just have to, some people, you know, pick up the pace. I have to slow down. because that's the only way I can breathe and get back into my zen again. So again, as I'm just taking vertical sections, I'm lifting the hair out at 90, but I'm lifting up slightly more. So, because I really want to have that layering up high. And you can see I still left a nice solid, a nice thicker outline.
Weight line, yes. And you're still pulling the hair from the sides towards the center, yes?
Yes.
So developing a nice square shape.
I am
Good.
developing a nice square shape.
Yeah.
And I wanted to use this technique because, I wanted to show how this connects too, from a blunt line to a little graduation to flat layering. But as you know, if you have different hair textures, different lengths, this can be adapted to a lot of different shapes.
So for us, looks like in Chicago, looks like June the 3rd, we're going to be able to get back into the salon to see our clients. We're kind of looking forward to it. We've been off, I don't know, it seems like 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk that we would have all have taken an 8 to 10 week sabbatical? And, I think back to what we've done during that time, and we've really been able to accomplish a lot and change a lot of things around as far as the way we work, not just the way we work, but the way we teach, the way we communicate. And, Facebook Live and Zoom and, applications like that have become so much more popular. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the future. So, Jerry, your vertical sections are just above the occipital bone. Is that correct?
You can see. Okay. So, a lot of times when people start doing this, they'll maybe stop right at the occipital bone. I decided to bring it up because I really want to see that layering come through. I want to be able to style it where it looks like, is it a bob or is it a layered haircut? Is it bob or layered haircut?
Got it.
And so I brought the line up above the round of the head. But so these two sections above here are going to be the ones that are going to trail down, and I'm going to meet the bob line or close to it.
Gotcha.
And then I'm just checking the side, and then we're going to go on to the next section. So yeah, I think a lot of people have really taken the time this pandemic to hone their skills, doing certifications for standard sanitation and sterilization, and I just recently made a video for a root concealer because a lot of clients who aren't able to get their hair cut and colored, their grays are really, coming through, and they really wanted to find something as a Band-Aid for the time being. So, I usually don't make videos of myself, and I felt this was the time. I've been wanting to do it, so been doing that. Been also helping Alex with his demonstrations with the Rojo and with some of the beauty schools.
Yep, it's been fun, and I'm just going to pan over. You guys can see what the youth of today is doing, staying nice and busy.
Right. Okay, this feels really good.
Good.
Can you tell?
And we like to see that cross-checking as well.
Yes.
If you've noticed, Jerry is she's not a one-section cut and move on person. So she's stayed in this area for quite a bit, making sure that the weight distribution is even, consistent, concise, before she moves on to anything else, Part of the journey of cutting hair, especially when you're doing a demo or something creative, is really to take the time and enjoy what you're doing, right? There's no, excuse the pun, shortcuts in cutting hair. And it's nice to just be able to enjoy the art of cutting hair. You know, it's a mannequin. She's not going to move. She's not going to talk to you. She's not going to cry or anything like that. So, you know, get into your Zen moment. Enjoy what you're doing, and you know, become part of the haircut.
Absolutely, become part of the haircut. Just gonna take this section into the side and continue my bob line.
Now, will this be part of the undercut, Jerry?
Once I get up a little higher, so what I'm gonna do, it's actually going to be connected. This whole panel is gonna connect with the bottom, but see, you can see there's a center section of the top, and this is this will be the disconnection. This is the disconnected area.
So
and you can see, like if you look on my head sheets, I made head sheets. So if you wanted to take a screenshot of my head sheets, that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Gotcha. So the yellow square or the yellow rectangle on top is basically the section of hair that has been left out.
Yes.
Almost like a mini mohawk.
Yes. But that's the long hair that's going to go over the top.
Got it.
I'm going to use my Hydro Mist. I live on this product. I love it.
You know what I always say? You can't sell water, but you can sell Hydro Mist.
Yeah, but it's even better. Like, there's something that's really nice about it. It's great if you're wearing your hair natural. You know, I've turned a lot of male clients into it just to put it on their hair for before they walk out the door and let it dry naturally. Okay, so I'm just gonna come around. Now I am envisioning there is a square line here, but like because the head rounds, but I still know that there's my corner is right there. So as I come around, I'm gonna just pull her up. I'm gonna pull her up first.
Hey, Cleo, what time is it, baby?
10:34.
Oh, good. All right, well then I'll move a little faster.
We just got a time check, 10:34.
Oops,
Oh, there you go.
let me get
It's
my
okay.
other comb.
Yeah, right. I saw that.
All right, so I'm going to go through and I'm just going to give this line and carry it through into the temple area. And I'm just going to keep going here so you can see where I'm taking this long hair. So I'm going to continue a little bit of the graduation once I get some of this longer hair down at the bottom again. So I'm just going right over top. She doesn't have, my mannequin doesn't have a lot of density. She's got a small head, and so you can see now I've started adding.
But your little mohawk is still sectioned off, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
she is. She's still sectioned off.
You know, many times we're used to really cutting quite methodically, you know, like I mentioned earlier, from A to B, from B to C. And, you know, when Jerry cuts hair, I see her break up the A, B, C routine. And many times she'll cut A to B, but then all of a sudden jump to like F and G, you know what I mean? But somehow everything works and blends through together. And again, I think, you know, emphasizing the mastering the classics.
It's what it's all about. I can't tell you how many workshops and demonstrations I was a part of. It doesn't ever end, and that's the only way. It's like when you learn an instrument. If you're learning the piano or you're learning the violin, you can't just expect to play Beethoven, you know, right away. Or if you get it, you have to continue to practice it so it becomes more fluid and more natural. you know, there's a lot of people that when they start beauty school, they have a nice confidence about them. I was that way. I was confident when I went to beauty school, but the thing about it is that unless I would have practiced, if I didn't practice all my techniques as much as I did, that's where my confidence came from, to be creative, like just to start mixing it up. Now I'm just
And that's really
putting
key.
a little text.
It's all about the practicing to build that confidence. Confidence is really what, you know, gets you through everything, I believe.
Yeah.
Just a little history on Jerry. She did her training at the Chicago Vidal Sassoon, and she was the creative director in the Boston Salon. She spent time in London. Obviously, she mentioned she spent time in Paris. She has had the opportunity to teach and be on the international team with Sassoon. She went to Japan. She went all over Europe. She's done a lot of classes. She spent a big chunk of her time in Los Angeles.
I did.
Working for these model agency hairs, doing a lot of the... I'm going to just walk through here. Excuse me, guys.
I can turn the...
That's okay. I'm through. Working with celebrities and doing movie stars' hair, like Charlize Theron and Bill Murray and Elle Macpherson and all of that, you know, stuff. So, you know, she's pretty humble. Doesn't really talk about that a lot. But if you want to see what she's been up to, check out her website, jerrydelgado.com. DELGADO.com. Jerry Delgado. It's Jeri. And when I had my salon, obviously she was one of my senior stylists there, and also one of the educators. And you know, now we're both over at the George Charles Salon on Oak Street. And you know, it's so nice to have the privilege to still work with Arojo, you know, Nick and the rest of the team. And this platform of education is just really incredible. I mean, it's, you know, it's free, for crying out loud.
But it's giving back, isn't it? It's just...
And effective, so.
Yeah. Starts at the top, right, Alex? Alex and Nick are like high school buddies. It's like they went to high school together, even though they didn't. The way they act when they're together, it's so funny. Love it.
I think Nick is older than me.
You think? Okay, so I'm just going to get this going a little bit. Just get this bob line in so I can start the internal layering through the sides. It's always tricky because, you know, you got the ear. This ear is, she's got a flat ear, so I don't have to worry about protrusion. I'm still using the large end of my comb. So, you know, because I'm in the salon and I'm a typically busy hairdresser, you know, I've been in the business for so long, you know, we have these loyal clients, and I'm on a time frame. So, you know, if I were, today I'm still on a time frame actually, because it's,
yes, you are.
I have an hour. So the key is that I have to think through what I'm going to do, because if I don't, then I start, you know, at the end, after it's at the end, if I'm refining the shape, I don't want it to take me another half hour. I want to be able to refine the shape quickly after, so if I can get as accurate as I can with my shape when it's wet, then it gives me a chance. This is just for me with cutting with my scissors. If this helps me stay on time with clients.
Jerry is, you know, she is, you know, definitely one of the busiest stylists I know. Her retail is also always high, and she's fastidious about, you know, working with her clients. I mean, you know, I'll get woken up in the middle of the night and she'll show me a picture and say, what do you think about this haircut for Mrs. So-and-so? And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. So, you know, that's how she operates, and you know, the results show. You know, in her books, she's always booked in advance, and clients are calling her, and you know, that's really what you need to do to develop a strong, busy clientele. Take the time to you know, go above and beyond, because if you don't, someone else will.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of good hairdressers out there, and it's really about, you know, just, I find what motivates me in general is just to keep practicing and always be a student. Even though I've been a teacher for a long, long time, I still put myself in student mode, and I'm still stepping out of my comfort zone. I typically don't cut mannequins. I've always, for different workshops, I always find my, you know, my young girls, and I cut their hair, and they let me do whatever I want, which I love. But, you know, for cutting mannequins, it's definitely stepping out of my comfort zone, as well as just being filmed right behind me. So, but it's, I know it's good. It's my training. It's my training for, so I can be an effective teacher. I can be effective for someone else that's looking at this, that's maybe never has cut a bob before, or maybe someone who's been cutting a bob the same way for a long period of time, and they just, you know, they're looking for a different approach.
And that's ultimately, again, what it is. It's like not everyone learns the same way, not everyone cuts the same way, you know. But I think you have to expose yourself to as much as possible, you know. Okay,
so
we
now
have 10 minutes, 10% left on the battery, so
good.
nothing like...
you know what, we can do a lot in 10 minutes.
I'm
right?
gonna move back and plug this in. Please excuse my wobbly camera.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the back, so as you can see the disconnection. I'm going to take the back, there's my disconnection, right? So I'm going to take the longer piece, I'm going to take a horizontal section, and I'm going to just take the bottom and let whatever falls out, and I start a new corner, and just lift it up, and and cut a square line. So what I'm going to, so part of this is why I cut the bob line, because the length, her hair was so long, and the length is going to help me to determine how short I want to go on the top. So this piece, it's like when you're doing a short square layer. This is the pivoting piece to the back, to the side, and I'm going to make that up into on the top in the crown. So I'm taking a horizontal section. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to cut a square line.
And Deborah Jean says, thank you for your much appreciated left hand demo. Merci.
Oh, that's great. You're welcome.
Once you take another section there, Jerry, can you turn the mannequin to face us a little bit? And that way we can see your angle, your like square this? Angle. Yeah, you can stand behind her if you need.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay. So I'll show you.
You're going to be pulling that hair up, right?
Yeah, pull the hair up. So there is my square line.
Great. You may have to talk a little louder because I'm further away from you, because I'm plugged in.
Well, in the interest of time, Alex, I'm going to let you help out.
Oh. There you go, folks. So I've been given the microphone to step in while Jerry focuses on her haircut. You can see what's happening. She's pulling the hair straight up. You know, you can see the tension in the section of hair that she's holding. You can see her middle finger, how straight that is right across, right? It's really about controlling that weight distribution so that you have proper balance within your haircut.
Yes. I'm gonna just check it one more time, because I think the left side's just a little bit short.
And Rob Law says, your hair is adorable. Is the cut that you are demonstrating similar?
Well, Alex cut it. So is it Alex?
Rob, thank you. I will take full credit on that. I ended up cutting Jerry's hair. So, you know what? It actually is, to be honest. She does have a little undercut action going on.
So I want to just say something real quick before I move on. So you can see the back. So you see, it's still going to it's still traveling all the way to the bottom. Now vertically, there is a little bit of graduation, a little bit of square.
Yeah, can you hold it there so that we can see the undercut? There you go. Wonderful.
And then now, my square line. And that is going to help me to then
to work through to the front,
work
right?
through to the sides.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Good.
So,
very interesting. I would call this shape a salon creative shape. Like Jerry mentioned earlier, someone that has a bob that's looking at having something a little different, but isn't quite committed to going for the big chop. You start doing a little bit of undercutting, whether you use a razor underneath, whether you use your shears, whether you use a pair of thinning shears or texturizing shears underneath. You can really change that shape by taking away the weight, so have it lay a little flatter. But it's really the hair on top that keeps the bob looking similar for the client, so that there's no fear factor there. I honestly believe that that's kind of what our job is about, kind of gently encouraging and pushing our clients to do something a little bit more different, a little bit more daring. There's a fact out there that 80% of clients leave their stylist because the stylist kept doing the same thing, right? So it's important for us to look at ourselves. As Nick says, you've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I love that. So I'm over directing it across the top of the head now. She's tilted, the mannequin is tilted to the side slightly, but even if she weren't, you could see I'm just like these arrows, I'm crossing over the top. So because I just want to take a little bit of the weight and give some light layering through the top around the curve of the head. She has finer texture, but you can still see how it causes it to go under really nicely.
What's the time?
10:50.
10:50.
All right.
So
I'm gonna there's my line, so I just used my guideline from the back.
Gotcha. That's still not the middle part, right?
No, I have the middle section that is along the part. It's probably about an inch wide that I'm going to use as the hair that's going to lay over top of the layered bob.
So because we knew we were going to probably run out of time, Jerry does have a finished haircut that she will show you.
In case she came in late. Yeah, because I showed that haircut in the beginning, which I thought was good because it was, it's the front of the haircut that I did last night is a little different than this one because I decided to give it a fringe last night. She was asking me for a fringe.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see I'm really getting some nice layering through the top.
And you're over directing, right?
Over the parietal bone, over the round of the head.
Helen says this is such a great cut, but it was the rapper Ice Cube that actually said, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So, wait, Nick Rojo didn't come up with that? I don't believe it.
That's funny. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I've got my section.
Right. And so you're really over-directing that over.
Yeah.
Almost to the opposite side of that center parting.
Yeah.
Which, I think, again, the geometrics of this type of shape is really great. The breakdown, and you can see behind Jerry, she has her little head sheets and drawings. So she really thought about what she was doing before she did it, actually. It's never a case of just grab the mannequin and let's see what happens. Especially when you're teaching, and I know that there's an incredible amount of talent out there watching, and so
I know it makes me nervous because there are so many good hairdressers that are watching. But we all have our own specialness, don't we? Everybody's got their uniqueness, and I just love just to go back to the pandemic and all of us really unifying. I appreciate Nick really having that platform that he's been doing to really, it's been nice to see all the hairdressers come together all over the country.
Yeah, that connectivity-ness, that unity is really, it goes from the head down, as they say. Yeah. And, there's no one that works harder than Nick Rojo. I see him and I see the sacrifices he puts together. And it's incredible. Xavier says, teamwork makes a dream work. You guys are doing great, breaking everything down for all the students on here. Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Xavier. That's helpful to know. If there's anything that I am not doing that you would like more, you can follow up with me after this is over. I'm happy to have any conversations. Correct.
JerryDelgado.com is Jerry's website. You can see what she's up to and you can reach out to her.
And then also at George Charles Salon.
George Charles Salon.
And
if ever you guys show up in Chicago, please stop by and say hi. Don't forget to wear your mask.
Right.
Crazy times, crazy times.
We're opening up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the last section. So what I'm going to do now is connect this into the bob.
So this is your little mohawk section that you just pulled down.
Yes.
Good.
I kept the same thickness from front to back, so it was more of a rectangular section that I used. Again, I think it depends as you're doing what type of look you're going for. If it's a longer bob or if it's a shorter one, if it's thicker, if it's wavier. It all depends as what you find that works for you. Okay, so.
Reese Travis is watching. Hi, Reese.
Hi, Reese.
He says, thank you guys, two of the best in the biz. He'll watch the video later. His client is here. So that's always great. Susan says, thank you. You two are wonderful. Stay healthy. And you too, Susan. I know we're running close to time. So Jerry's going to whip this little center section through.
Yeah.
And then we'll just give you another peek of the finished model.
Yes.
So Reese used to work with us in Chicago, and now I believe they're in Colorado, I believe, or somewhere out there. And, talk about using your time wisely, right? Their salon is open, they're taking clients, and in between clients, he's watching a video.
Isn't that great? Reese is such a talent.
That's what you have to do, people.
Go Reese. Yeah.
So, Jerry, can you turn the model around a little bit so that we can see some of what you're doing behind there?
So I'm just holding and cutting around the bob line from the back to the front and just I'm using some tension because I still want to keep a little bit of graduation through the outline. I don't want it to be completely blunt.
Gotcha.
Not like Louise Brooks or, you know, that where there is everything comes to one point, a blunt line. Not, I wanted to add a bit more movement in the hair. And again, this is a shape that I would like to be able to style in a way that's not a bob.
Gotcha.
So that would be my end result, is to dry it loosely and then be able to add some like texture spray or Rojo texture spray or something that would give it a little bit more.
And Natalia is watching from Bermuda.
Hi, John.
Thank you, Natalia. You know, part of the personalization of your haircuts, Jerry obviously combed everything down and blended it into her line. That piece that was left out, you could use a razor and have, again, another complete disconnection with some longer pieces hanging over your bob. You know, there's so many things that you can start to do. You know, again, it's mastering those classics.
Yeah, it really is.
Natalia is watching while she's waiting for her highlights. Good job, Natalia.
Oh, really?
Yes, in sunny Bermuda.
Ooh.
Mm.
Really?
I'm not sure if the Arojo brand reaches out to Bermuda or not, but maybe that's a question for Nick. I think when travel starts to happen, I think we might have to come out and do a class.
There we go. So all I'm doing is taking the longer bits of hair to the top, for that top panel, and I'm just cutting a square line. And if I, how much time do we have left, Alex? Like a minute?
What's the time, baby?
10:58.
We got 2 minutes. Your next client.
Woohoo!
I'm going to unplug this phone and see if I can come in closer. Oops. Nothing like the cameraman goofing up.
So I'm going to come back to, I love this wave. I would definitely keep the wave, but I would also, I think for the first time, if I were to cut this on a client, I would
Shake it up a little bit. Upside down.
So this is the end result. And you can see how I cut a rounded outline. But there's the longer piece that comes to the front. And then here's the longer piece that goes to the back.
Great.
And then you get, you know, you can get like a nice little...
Soft, modern, and fun.
And fun, yes.
Jerry, any last minute words you'd like to share with your audience?
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And I'm going to put her on my Instagram page when I finish styling her. And it was a pleasure to be on the Arojo platform. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day.
Peace out from me too.